we are going to have a brief discussion on the various integration and diversification strategies, which are basically related to the growth strategies of the organization itself. So, my dear students, in our previous class, we have understood the basic concept of strategies and tactics, where we have understood that strategies are the ends and means. Strategies are the roadmaps to the goals of the organization. Strategies are the roadmaps to reach to the visionary state of existence of the organization, and the way by which we can reach to that visionary state of existence. That means what we are talking of, allocating different resources of the organization. We are talking of allocating the various aspects of the organization, like the competencies of the organization. Okay, good afternoon, and sorry for these technical inconveniences. And so we are starting off once again, phrase as if I was telling you that in our previous class we were talking of strategies and tactics. The strategies are the blueprints, the pathways, the roadmap for the accomplishment of organization's goals, right? And not only that, not only defining the organization's goals, not only defining the visionary state of existence of the organization is enough, but we need to find out how we can reach to that visionary state of existence, the path, the means of reaching to that. So what we need to do is to employ all those resources available to us, made with the technical resources, managerial resources, human resources, financial resources, whatever it may be. So how do we allocate those kind of resources to accomplish the vision of the organization is a part of strategy. Whereas employing those resources in an effective and efficient way so that the organization can reach to its visionary state of existence is what we call it as tactics. And both these strategies and tactics are required for the accomplishment of the overall organization's growth. Right? We have also have understood the different level of strategies that is organizations need to adopt at different times itself. Mostly, Organizations, uh, when they do have a question of survival, when they do have a question of stagnancy, then the organizations need to think and adopt a different level of strategies itself, right? So we classified like maybe at a very crucial juncture, the organizations need to adopt a stability strategy where we say that organizations are not keen for having that level of growth. The organizations witness a very slow growth, so organizations don't want to make much alterations in their product or in their like market strategies. They continue with the similar sort of product, what we call it as a stability strategy, right? But if there is a question of survival, if the organizations would like to continue for a longer period of time, longer span of time, then they need to have a growth strategy where we have understood that like different sort of growth strategies that we have discussed in our previous class, like we are talking of this integrations, vertical integrations, horizontal integrations, right? And we have understood how this integrations, maybe whenever we are talking of integrations, we are talking of like integrating with the internal supply chain logistics, right? Or when it is a horizontal integration, it is integrating with some external constituencies to explore the new possibilities, right? Beyond that, organizations also need to adopt at times the retrenchment strategies, where the turnaround strategies can also be there. Right? When nothing does work for the organization, so organizations would like to withdraw themselves. So those kind of strategies that we have discussed in our previous class itself. Beyond that, we also have discussed that intensive growth strategies, where we discussed about the various strategies related to diversification, right? So we understood the basic aspects of this diversification, like what is concentric, what is conglomerate. Just we had an introduction of that, and today we are going to discuss these strategies related to diversification in detail. So continuing with this aspect, what we are talking of this term diversification itself. Why do we need to diversify? The answer to that is a drastic requirement of growth. The question of survival, which has emerged for the organizations itself. Like whenever we have gone for any other kind of strategies, but none of those strategies were working in full, ensuring that the organizations do continue on a long run for its survival. So the only option that lies before us is to diversify our business, right? So we would like to say that this diversification is a process of moving from the existing set of business to a completely new set of business itself. Existing set of business to new set of business, in a sense that it may so happen that we will diversify in two different categories. We'll diversify in terms of our product segments. So existing products to a completely new set of product line itself, or we are talking of diversifying ourselves in terms of markets itself. So from an existing market to a new market itself, right? So on the basis of that, we classify these diversifications into two categories. There is a certain diversification, which we say that whenever we are diversifying in the existing line of business, it is more certain. Like we do have our competencies, we do have our resources, we do have all of our support systems, like may it be the production system, may it be the information technology, IT systems, or financial resources, whatever it is available, right? So all of them, they can be utilized for the purpose of diversifying, right? So here we to come out with some sort of related industry where we diversify our product segment, right? So maybe unrelated products, but related industries itself. But whenever we are talking of this uncertain diversification, we say this sort of diversification is more into a new line of business altogether. So maybe into a new industry segment altogether, right? So whatever we do say, but the basic aspect of this diversification is to move from an existing set of conditions to a completely different new set of conditions. That is what we are talking of, right? So as if it has been mentioned that organizations away from its present products or present market simultaneously. So here you need to understand over one thing, that like in our previous class we have discussed the integration strategies. Now, integration strategies are more confined with the existing line of business only. But this diversification of business are more into the new set of business, new line of business that we have understood, right? Now, diversifications can be this concentric diversifications and conglomerate diversification based on its uh, like based on the requirements of the organization itself, right? Now, the basic purpose for which we diversify into a new industry is to gain that synergy effect. Synergy effect is what? When we explore the new possibilities, the values that we add to the organization are triple or more than the double. That's what we do say. Synergy is like 2 plus 2 kind of thing. 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 kind of thing. So we do talk of that, right? So what is required is that you need to have a strong competitive position in the market, where you do have a complete set of distinct competencies. You do have all of your resources available, which can facilitate you to diversify into that, right? So this related diversification is some or other, we call it as what? The concentric diversification. So concentric diversification is into same line of business, right? Products may be unrelated, not the similar sort of product, unrelated products, but into same industry line, right? So what is the essence of this is like you need to have that competitive advantage. You need to gain that synergy. That is the only reason why organizations would like to diversify in terms of the related industries itself, right? You can talk of an example of Sony Entertainment Limited, purchasing Columbia Pictures. So that is somehow products are unrelated, but similar sort of industry. So that kind of thing can be taken into consideration for this related diversification itself. But whenever we talk of this related diversification can be achieved in two ways. First, what we can do is to develop our internal resources, right? So the way by which we can think, developing our human capabilities, developing our production capabilities, developing our technical capabilities, or all of these resources are to be developed internally. So utilizing these existing resources and capabilities, we can think of expanding or diversifying our business into the related industry itself. But sometimes if I do not have those kind of facilities being there, so there I need to think of going through this process of related diversification with the external acquisitions, right? So when I do not have enough resources available, I do not have the competencies to diversify into that new or related product or related industry itself, I can think of acquiring other industries who are into that particular business, right? So acquisitions can be a strategy related to this related diversification itself. But when we come to this unrelated diversification, what we call it as the conglomerate diversification, right? When the industry is not that attractive for the organization, and the organizations are also not having the level of competencies as it is required for the diversification. So there you are thinking of moving, right, from a completely new industry with a complete new set of product lines itself, right? So new product line, no, of course, this is a very difficult task for the organizations. This is a very risky task for the organizations. But what you need to understand is that whenever you don't have those kind of competencies and the market is not at all that attractive, so there you don't have a choice other than to go for this external or unrelated product, unrelated industry, what we call it as the conglomerate diversification itself, right? And we do have many such examples of this conglomerate diversification. You can think of Tata Group of companies, from Tisco to manufacturing of steel. Now Tata has diversified itself into many such non-core products, right? So you can see what not is available under the brand of Tata. That is what we say is a conglomerate diversification, right? We are talking of BPL. BPL also like diversified into power generation, steel, agriculture, cement. We are talking of Wipro into vegetable oil, the computer hardware, software, medical equipments, consumer products. All of those things are unrelated, non-core from their original business. So we call that as a conglomerate diversification itself, right? So we need to understand, okay, concentric or conglomerate is okay, but what are the reasons for diversification? Where we do say that, the first reason is that organizations would like to have to maximize their profit, right? So this can be done in two different ways, right? Either you do, cut down your cost of operation, or you go for expanding your business volume, right? So that can be done through the process of diversification. One of the basic aspects of this says that you need to retain the customer base, because we have understood that customers are the basic aspects of a particular business, and nowadays we witness a frequent change in the taste and preferences of the customers itself. So what we need to do is that if we would like to retain those customers, then we need to provide those customers a wide range of varieties, maybe of the similar sort of product, right? But with wide range of varieties, just to meet the requirements of the customers, right? So if I'll be able to do that, then definitely I'll be able to answer three such things. Like, I need to retain my existing customer base. Second, I need to add a new customer base. Third, as if we have discussed, I need to add customer base of my competing organizations, my competitors. That is how we need to think of like implementing this diversifications, right? So this will help us to have maximizing the profit of the organizations itself. We are talking of this diversification has been not a choice for the organizations, I believe. You have to go for that, right? Because if I'd like to confine myself to a particular locality, I may not be able to compete, right? So to compete with the rest of the players, I need to go beyond a particular level of my operations, right? So that is why we do say that just to have a widened market base or to gain that acceptance of the market, we are thinking of diversifying our business. So as if we have understood in our previous class, like mergers and acquisitions, right? So the reason for which we are going for these mergers and acquisitions is to gain that market, is to gain that competitive advantage, is to have those kind of resources available for the organizations which the organizations lacks, right? So that is what we do talk of profit stability itself. Now, sometimes organizations, some of the organizations which are into seasonal product category or cyclic product category, we just say that. So they do have seasonal business, cyclic business itself. So running the organization in a profitable mode for the entire financial year may not be possible for those kind of organizations. Now, those kind of organizations need to diversify into those products or services which they can be into the business in off seasons of their core business, right? So profit will come throughout the year. That is what is the thing that you need to understand itself. We have understood like how this financial improvement, the financial performance of the organizations, they have improved through that. And we are talking of like having that liquid cash for those kind of thing. Growth is of course the ultimate objective of any such organization, where the organizations do have the basic aspects of survival. We are talking of the competitive traits that we do have. Competitive threats in a sense, if I don't diversify my business, maybe the product line or the market itself, right? As I've said that now my competitors will always gain this opportunity of coming out with a new product line, new market itself, just to capture the niche of my own business. That is what we do say. And one of the basic reasons for which these organizations would like to diversify is when they do not have the latest technology, and sometimes acquiring these technological advancements are very costly for the organizations, right? So organizations need to spend a hell lot of time, energy and money for acquiring those kind of technologies, and implementing those technologies are also a question mark for the organizations, right? So in that case, the organizations are left out with no other choice than to have some sort of partnerships with other firms, some sort of mergers or acquisitions, takeovers, whatever it may be, the different sort of strategies that these organizations do adopt just to diversify their business, just to gain that competitive advantage through technological advancements, right? And sometimes we do come out with this regulatory factors also. Like most of the time, these regulatory factors are applied whenever we are talking of an expansion in terms of geographical locations itself, right? So geographical expansion. So if I do move, like it can happen, like we discussed it in our previous class, no? We can expand in our domestic level of territory, but we can also expand beyond the domestic level of territory, right? We are going from a national organization to be a global organization. That requires the different phases, like being international, multinational, transnational, and global organizations, right? So whenever we do move from domestic territory to international borders, so there, the requirement of the host country, the place where we would like to have our business is called as a host country, right? So we have to cater to the requirements of the host country, and particularly you need to deal with all those kind of regulatory issues, right? So in terms of the legal aspects of carrying out that particular business in that host country, which may be a difficult aspect for me as an individual entity. But if I do want to, enter into that particular market, so I need to have a tie-up. So I need to diversify my business over there, right? So maybe a conglomerate kind of diversification, but I need to expand, right? So these are the things which actually makes the diversification, you know, is essential, an essential element for the organizations itself. So as I said, organizations not like earlier days are operating or confined to the local markets. Organizations nowadays, with the opening up of this global economies, right, where the entire globe is treated as a one marketplace, right? So organizations need to compete compete with rest of the world players. So if the organizations would like to grow, survive, if the organizations would like not that declining phase coming early, then these organizations do not have any other choice than to diversify their business itself. And these are the core reasons for which we are going for a diversification, right? Then what are the ways through which we can diversify our business? How can we diversify our business itself, right? So as if we have understood, diversification can be into same line of business, means similar but unrelated product, but similar industry. Diversifications can be into a completely new line of business where I'm focusing on new product in a new industry or in a new marketplace, right? So the base strategies through which we do come out with these diversifications are this mergers, acquisitions, strategic partnering concept, joint ventures, maybe long-term contracts, and strategic alliances, right? We are going to discuss all of those things, right? If I had to talk of this mergers and acquisitions itself, merger is a process where two different entities, two different organizations, they merge together to form one organization. We'll discuss this mergers in detail, right? But you need to understand the basic concept that now mergers are the process through which two different entities join hands together, combine together, merge together to define as a single entity. But it is a bit different from that of acquisitions itself, right? So acquisitions are the process where one organization acquires, takes over, purchases other organization, right? So where mergers do happen between industries of similar type, industries having similar level of competencies, similar value systems, right, which do join hands together to develop a new set of value systems itself. Acquisitions are a process where we say a large organization takes over smaller organizations. Large organization takes over smaller organizations, right? So that is what we do talk of, right? Now, beyond that, sometimes, as we discussed, like when you do not lack, when you do not have enough competencies, when you do not have enough resources, when you do not have the core capabilities of the organization, right? It's better you go for a strategic partnering concept, partnership. You think of having some or other kind of partnership with the other organizations, right? This is one of the strategies where you overcome all of your loopholes, like resources, whatever it may be, technical resources, production resources, human resources, financial resources, whatever it may be, right? So you have a tie-up with other organizations. When you lack in terms of your basic capabilities, May it be production capabilities, may it be managerial capabilities, may it be leadership capabilities, whatever it may be, right? Whenever you do lack in terms of the core competences of the organization, same thing. So there, you do have an option of having a partnership with other organizations and develop these kind of resources, capabilities, competencies, and go for a long run, right? Beyond that, whenever you do have some specific objectives, like you are talking of now entering into a new market, right? So there you need to go for a strategy called joint ventures, right? You need to understand one thing over here is that this is just a mode of entering into a new market. Mode of entering into a new market, right? Is joint ventures. So you need to have these joint ventures maybe for a shorter period of time, or maybe for an extended period of time. Like these joint ventures can be there for months to years together, right? But unless and until you come out with the basic objective accomplished, you continue with the same sort of joint ventures, right? When we do have this long-term contracts, when this long-term contract actually is a, like if you do remember, we discussed this strategies, right, as the core strategies, corporate level of strategies, compatible level of strategies, functional level of strategies, or operational level of strategies, right? So here you need to understand that whenever you do have some sort of problem, like which is related to the functional level, the operational level of the organization, there you need to have these long-term contracts. Right? So these long-term contracts are a part of this internal integration, as if you have understood. So here you do talk of like having an agreement with the suppliers of the organization, right? So basically you can say that it's a kind of buyer supplier agreement, right? So where you do take it on a very long term period, just to ensure that all of your operational or functional level of problems are being taken care of, right? And last, we do talk of this strategic alliances. This strategic alliances is what that we will discuss it tomorrow, the next class in module 2, unit 5, it is there. But you have to understand one thing, that this strategic level of alliances are actually very short-term strategies, right? Highly specific, narrowing its core objective, right? And as I said, it's applicable only for a short-term period of time. That is what we need to talk of this strategic level of alliances. So these are the different sort of routes for diversification itself. Now let us talk of this mergers and acquisitions in detail itself, right? So whenever we talk of this mergers and acquisitions, okay, of course, the basic objective of having these mergers and acquisitions is like to have that synergy effect, right? 2 plus 2 5. So the values of the organizations when merged together enhances, increases, giving more return to the stakeholders of the organization. So that is the core purpose of this mergers and acquisitions, right? Enhancing shareholders' values. That is what we need to understand over here. But whenever we talk of these mergers, as I say, these are the amalgamation, the mergers, like merging of or accumulation of two different organizations into one single unit, right? So here, this happens between two equals, right? Two equal sort of organizations in terms of everything, resources, capabilities, competencies, everything, right? So here, what you need to understand is that those two organizations don't operate separately, but they may create a completely different new identity for themselves, So you need to understand one thing, that only one such entity will exist, right? But whereas in acquisition, is, so we say that a stronger player taking over a smaller or a weaker player, right? So here only the purchasing organization would be the new owner of the organization itself, right? But normally, as if the difference you can see, where mergers do happen because of this, among the equals, acquisitions do happen, larger firms taking over smaller firms, right? But whenever we do talk of these mergers and acquisitions giving that synergy itself, we say no, value has to be added. How can we do that actually? What are the ways? What sort of things do we come in out? Like whenever these two organizations do merge together or one acquiring the other, sometimes you are going to reduce the number of staff members, right? So what you are going to do is to have that competitive advantage by downsizing itself, right? If you are merging with other firms because of technology, and whenever you are adopting a completely new sort of technology itself, then you need to get rid of those over manpower in our organization. So this is what is a strategy to get rid of those excess manpower in the organization, right? You are talking of maximizing your profit, so you are going for mergers and acquisition. You are going for a kind of technological partnership, so where you don't need to invest a huge amount of money in terms of going for that technology thing kind of thing, right? Similarly, whenever you are going for this cross border organizations, or you just want to penetrate into a new market beyond the domestic level of territory, right? So the best strategy that you can adapt is to go for this mergers and acquisitions, right? So these are the ways by which actually the organizations can really come up with the basic requirement of diversifying their business into, right? So we do come out with this different sort of mergers itself. First such kind of merger where you do see there is a horizontal merger. Horizontal merger means when you do have a strong competitor which is dealing with similar sort of products, right? Both of you, like both of the organizations, they are into the same industry, right? And the way by which we can eliminate the competition is to go for a kind of merger, right? So here we do say that these horizontal mergers are the processes where these organizations merge to eliminate competition. So this is the kind of win-win orientation for the organizations, right? And this is where a completely new set of entities formed with new identities, new product line, new service line, right? So all of those things will be there. And whenever we to talk of this vertical merger, so we say mergers or acquisitions, whatever it may be, right? So whenever we to talk of these vertical mergers, it is a kind of merger where we understand that these organizations are in different stages of their supply chain, right? So basically, as if we have understood, internal integration and external integration. So similarly, we do talk of this vertical mergers are more focusing on internal integration as a part of that, where I do think of having a merger with the other organizations in the same supply chain, right? I might be in a different phase of supply chain. The other organizations might be in a different phase of supply chain. So kind of thing where we can think of like merging with the suppliers, vendors who used to provide us different sort of resources for a prolonged period of time. Not that kind of thing we are talking of, right? Third kind of merger is when we do say it's market extension merger. Now, the basic objective of this particular merger is to enter into a new market segment, right? So it may happen at domestic level, where I do think of entering into that new market at the domestic level, or it may happen also for this cross-border organizations also, right? Cross-border organizations definitely require these mergers kind of thing. Okay? So we are talking of same product line may be there, but in a different market, whatever it may be. Production extend merger, we do talk of like here, you do say you do have to think of diversifying into some related product or unrelated product, but you're operating in the same market itself. So sometimes it is there because of technological advancements, because of the kind of consumer demands it all together, right? So different sort of product line, but similar sort of product line, related product line. So as if we have understood, no, this is more into concentric kind of diversification, right? Related industry. And the last kind of strategy, that is conglomeration. Conglomerate, as if we have understood, you are moving from a new set of from the existing set of product to a new set of product, new set of industry itself, right? Where if you don't have those resources, capabilities along with you, so you need to acquire that from other organizations, right? So these are the different sort of things, different sort of mergers that we do talk of. Like broadly, if we do classify all of these mergers, no, we can say that we'll have three different kind of mergers altogether, right? One is the pooling of interest. We call it as pooling of interest, right? When both the organizations do have similar sort of product line, right, operating in a highly competitive marketplace. So these organizations, what they do is that they do go for a swapping of their common stock, what we call it as common stock swap, right? And they do merge together to define a new entity, and the objective is to eliminate competition and gain advantage out of that. So this is what pooling of interest is, one of the basic reasons for this mergers itself. Second kind of merger is what we call it as a purchase merger. Purchase mergers are the mergers where organizations which do merge with other organization do purchase their debts, do right. So you can say this is a kind of debt investment, right? So making the other organizations debt free, making the other organizations assets and liabilities to be written off, and then acquiring it in due course of time. Okay, so that is what we do talk of, right? Or we do talk of consolidation. Consolidation is more of a strategy where we say like the existing companies do dissolve, consolidate their business itself, right? Now, based on that itself, we do say the basic reasons for this mergers and acquisition strategies itself. But it says that to reduce competition, as if we have understood, cost efficiency is there, right? Sometimes whenever you do have excess liquid assets itself, so there you become a takeover target by these hostile organizations, right? So to avoid being takeover is another one reason where you need to like merge with other organizations, right? It's better from being taken over to get merged, right? We're talking of improving earnings of the organization, reducing the sales variability altogether, right? Most of the time, when we do talk of this, no market and product line issues itself. Uh, when I'm a steady player in a particular market and I observe that the other players, maybe the bigger players, would like to enter into the market where I'm operating itself, right? So at that particular point of time, I can think of getting a merger, right? So that I do have my own existence itself. Okay, and beyond that, we need to think of this resource acquisition itself. Now, acquiring is completely taking over, but in merger, what we do is that we acquire resources, right? So whatever it may be. But whenever we do talk of all those resources, okay, I understand that the process of merger is acquiring those tangible resources only, right? But at times, you also take the advantage of the various non-tangible resources, like we are talking of the trademarks, we are talking of the copyrights, we are talking of the patents associated with that particular organization. All of those things can be additional. Like we have understood tax saving is sometimes we need to do that. Okay, and cashing out is another one region. Like this happens when you do run a family-owned business, right? Family-owned business, and sometimes if the next generation players of the family, next generation resources of the family, they don't want to continue with the business. They not interested anymore, right? So it's better to go for this mergers and acquisitions, right? So we can cash it out through acquisition process only, right? So all of these are the basic reasons of mergers and acquisitions. But you need to understand one thing over here. We say nowadays, if you do see, this has been trained, over the past. Mergers and acquisitions have been, over the headlines. But is it really works whenever we do go for this mergers and acquisition? Whenever we do say, like from the beginning only, I said that the basic objective of this mergers and acquisition is to have that synergy. But synergy in what sense? Does this really happen? Statistics says that two-thirds, almost 66, 67% of the mergers and acquisitions don't work, don't get the desired result after the mergers and acquisitions. So it becomes, essential for the organizations to have a careful consideration of many such different aspects before for any kind of mergers and acquisitions. You need to think of to have a detailed study of the target company. Many such factors are there. Maybe in the next class we will discuss all of those factors which are responsible for the growth and development, for the success of this kind of thing, right? So, beyond this benefits related to the financial resources, other aspects what you need to take into consideration is the culture of the organization. That's what you need to take, right? So culture of the organization is what you need to take into consideration, right? That's all. So whenever we talk of this culture of the organization, it is essential to study the culture. We'll discuss that in the next class. Sometimes you're going for wrong assessment of the organization. The target organization is being over-evaluated, right? So you're making a overpayment kind of thing for the kind of acquisitions. Like you need to go for a proper insight into the level of value creation, right? Like whether it is a value to be created in terms of the product line, it's a value to be created in terms of market segment. What value is it? That's what you need to understand, right? Proper assessment of the value creation process. And also you need to think of the basic process of integration. All those kind of things, like starting from structural modification to product modification to the market, reaching to the consumer, right? The entire process has to be restructured, no? So that is what you need to take into consideration. But without that, if you do go for that mergers and acquisition, perhaps we do say it's we land up in a different zone altogether, right? However, here you can see like the basic aspects which are the core reasons for the failure of this mergers and acquisition is this integration difficulties. Like as I was telling you, know, when these two organizations do merge, they do create a completely new entity altogether. So there may be a high level of cultural class. That is what. Would you say you're taking off, like the basic aspects? Does the employees of the organization do accept the other employees? Does the organizations who have similar sort of culture? Does the working relationships are convenient? How do I define the new working relationships? Okay. Who is going to have that financial control? How do I take those kind of financial resources and the control mechanism? All of those things are to be taken into consideration, right? So unless and until I address these aspects, mergers and acquisitions will not be fruitful then. Second, whenever we do talk of, we do say no. Sometimes we are going for having some sort of faulty assumptions of the other organization itself. Whenever we do talk of like faulty assumptions, we rate the stocks of that particular organization in a different way altogether. So we over evaluate the organization sometimes, right? Sometimes these assumptions are made on the basis of the imitations made by others, right? So that will not work in future, right? So we have to think of a completely new, different set of things altogether. Sometimes we are not able to carry that due diligence itself, right? We are talking of excessive premium, right? We are talking of you know like evaluating that organization on the basis of the internal books, internal operations, internal records only, right? So sometimes we go for that over premium of the things, right? So that is what inordinating this increase in the day, people because of some because people do have that ego at times, they do go for a merger kind of thing because people do have a fear psychosis. It's the age of globalization. If I don't go for mergers and acquisitions, I cannot survive. This is the age of competition. If I don't go for mergers and acquisitions, I cannot survive. This sort of fear psychosis makes the people to go for mergers and acquisitions where they go for increasing their debt in the process and ultimately being bankrupt. That is what is required to be understood, right? So leading towards and declining in the credit rating system. All of those things. Sometimes organizations are going for excessive diversification. It's okay. I said diversification has been the mandate for the organizations now. It's okay, but not like to have a excessive conglomerate diversification. We can do that phase by phase. We can do that, so not at a time, but with a incremental way. That is what we need to talk of. And whenever we do talk of these problems related to this mergers and acquisitions, as I said, sometimes we merge to define a new entity altogether. So here what is required is that you focus on your existing operations. At the same time, you should focus on the new set of values. So most of the time, these mergers and acquisitions required. Just most of the time, these mergers and acquisitions makes these organizations to focus on a completely new set of values, like ignoring the existing set of values or existing set of operations, etc. So these are the reasons for which these mergers and acquisitions don't work properly. Okay. So the basic aspects, like we are talking of, no, having a issue like communication, no, diversification, or cultural diversity, or the basic managerial philosophies, the structural aspects like the reporting relationships, the kind of employer-employee relationships, all those kind of things are crucial for the organizations whenever we to say it's part of mergers and acquisitions. So it's not confined to the financial aspects only. Many such things are to be taken into consideration, right? So here we need to understand that these mergers and acquisitions actually can be done through a proper process, and this process will definitely help us out to to have that exact evaluation of the organization we are going to merge with, we are going to take over, right? So here, how do I evaluate all of those things? So the first thing is like here, the comparative ratio you can see. So this PE ratio, what it says that price to earning. Price to earning is a ratio where the one organization offers the multiples of the earnings of the other organization. This is one of the way by which we evaluate the pre-merger values of that particular organization. Similarly, when we do say it's PS ratio, we say that it is price to sales ratio, right? So here companies make these multiples of revenue generated by the organization, multiples of the basic aspects through which the basic sales process, you can say that, right? So these are the ways by which we can actually evaluate that particular organization, right? We do say it's a replacement cost. Replacement cost is a very traditional phenomenon. What it says, what if I need to replace that particular organization with a completely new set of organization, right? So if I want to start a new organization and make that organization to the existing level of organization, what will be the cost that is, right? That will be incurred. So it is all about valuing all those assets of the organization, like its resources, like staffing resources, its competencies itself, right? But sometimes this replacement cost ignores, doesn't have that intangible assets, like we discussed, copyrights, patents, etc., etc. Discounted cash flow is a process where we evaluate a particular organization, particular company, in terms of its current value based on the future cash flow, right? And synergy, of course, pre-merger and post-merger values. We say no, with these kind of mergers, we can actually increase the basic aspects of the organization, right? So let's wind this with the basic steps that we need to take for this mergers and acquisitions. We say there are initial offers, right, of the intention of buying, right? So one company is making the offer to the other organization, and second step, you're getting a response from the target company, right? So if you accept the terms of the offer, then it's okay. You move to the third step, that is to attempt for the negotiation, or you have some other kind of defense mechanism, like for avoiding this hostile takeover. So you find a white knight, like friendly merger kind of thing, right? And after that, you are closing the deal, right? So with this, let us end up today's session, and once again we'll meet tomorrow to continue with the similar sort of growth strategies where we will discuss the strategic alliances uh, tomorrow. So thank you very much. Have a good day.